So I won't go into all of the additional stuff that happened in the house. I will just sum it up and say this. Sherry, my cousin that lived there with her boys, it got really bad, and they ended up having to move, and it was changing the personalities of them. In fact, I was there one night, and my Aunt Janet was there, Sherry's mom, and I hear I don't know what it is, some other language, and I walk up in the front room, and Sherry is sitting there with a Bible rocking back and forth, chanting in Hebrew, which she knows nothing about, and it was terrifying. And my aunt was a total skeptic, didn't believe in anything, and when that happened, she's like, we got to get out of here. My aunt actually bought the house, and Sherry's her daughter. My aunt lived in Memphis, so Sherry was living in it. But yeah, it's like all hell broke loose. And I drove from Baton Rouge to Biloxi several times to try and help Sherry calm some of the stuff down, because, I mean, it was literally rocking her world, changing her lives, ruining her life. And here's the kicker. When they tried to sell it, the purchase agreement would fall through or inspection wouldn't go through. They could not sell the freaking house. It took like 6 tries, and they finally got out from underneath it. God bless the souls that are there now. But yeah, it wasn't easy to get out from underneath that hell house. You know, I still have a problem just driving past it, which I don't do very well. I think I've only done twice. I have such fond memories of my grandmother and spending time there, but I do not have fond memories of the house itself. Yeah, crazy. So I want to go back to some significant things that I just nonchalantly skipped over. They're really important details of my life. Let's go back. See what I'm saying? That I couldn't write a book or didn't write a book because this is not how it would be written. Maybe they'd be editing it or something, but I'm not doing that, so let's just roll with it. I'm going to go back to when we moved from California to Texas after my mom packed my imaginary friends' stuff. We moved. Dad was in the military for 20 years, and he retired at 20 years and ended up Mom wanted to move closer to home, to Biloxi. Biloxi is not a big place. It's pretty small town, believe it or not. I mean, people look at the casinos there now and think it's big because of that, but it's not. It's actually very small. There's not a lot of jobs. So Dad ended up taking a job at, I think it was Brown and Root in Texas. So we're inching closer to Mississippi, but not quite there. We lived in several cities in Texas, Cleburne and Granbury's where we ended up, which I just loved Granbury, Weatherford area. Mom was going to college in Weatherford, but we ended up planting ourselves in Granbury, Texas. Now, for those that don't know where Granbury is, well, that's 98% of the population, maybe more. It was at the time a very little town south of the Fort Worth, Dallas area. I want to say about 50 minutes from what I remember. We didn't have any restaurants except for a pit grill. A pit grill. It's like a diner, like Mel's Diner. No fast food restaurants, nothing. We had a skating rink. We had an outdoor movie theater. And we had our schools. And, yeah, we didn't have hardly anything. In fact, I do know before we moved from Texas, that they actually built a McDonald's and they like had a parade almost. I mean, I don't know if it's an actual parade, but there was a big celebration that they actually made, built a McDonald's in Granbury. I know, McDonald's. But anyway, but we had a skating rink and we had an outdoor movie theater. You know, the ones with the big screen, you drive up, you put the little speaker in your car window and, you know, like watch the movie from in your car unless your parents were making out, and then you got out the car and you went up to where they had a little picnic area right in front of the screen. Yeah, see. My parents were so in love with each other. Hence why we ended up in front of the movie screen a few times. But it was so cool. They were such a cool way to be raised, to have parents that loved each other. even though my mom could give him hell sometimes. But it was really a cool feeling, a safe feeling. But before, I want to go back to when we left California. Mom got in a wreck, and Dad and I, so I was in the, no, was I in the motorhome with Papa or in the truck with Dad? I think it was in the truck with Dad. I can't remember, but I do know Mom got hit by an 18-wheeler. Do you remember in the 70s or 80s, they had those big, long station wagons with the panels down the side, like it looked like paneling? Well, Mom had one of those, thank God, literally, because the 18-wheeler hit the big-ass station wagon, and those cars were built to last, right? But it hit her, and it was terrible because we all witnessed it. She ended up in a hospital in this rural little town that I don't even know where we were, somewhere by the desert. But I know that I remember what I felt. You know, I said earlier, you don't always remember what somebody said, but you know how you felt. I know what I felt. I was devastated. At the time, they had an age limit on who could go into the ER. Well, I was 6 months away from making that, so I couldn't even go in and see my own mother. I had to wait in the car, and I remember like it was yesterday. I was so upset. I was afraid she was going to die. I couldn't even think. I couldn't function. I just cried. I sobbed, and I was in the car by myself because I think it was Dad. Why that part of my memory is fuzzy of who was it that we were with. I think it was Dad, because I know my grandparents were part of that. They were helping us move. I can't remember if they were at the hospital then or not. I do remember sitting in a car or vehicle, and I was turning the radio stations. I was trying to get my mind off of what was going on in the hospital. And then I couldn't see her, couldn't talk to her. And that had a lasting effect on me. Trauma, right? Earth is trauma school, and that's what I call it. That was a big trauma for me. You know, she ended up being okay. She did have severe back injury. You know, she had glasses on at the time, and when that 18-wheeler hit her, her glasses ended up way in the back of the car, like in the corner of the car. It was just all kinds of weird stuff. But she ended up having some back injuries, and ended up living, obviously, thank God. And we ended up finally on our way to Texas, to Granbury. I fell in love with Granbury. And my parents, let me add something. For those parents that like to get their kids involved in activities, give them a choice. I'm serious. I don't care if your kid's 5. I know that sounds weird, like, you want my 5-year-old making decisions? Yeah. But you can do it in this way. Show them or tell them 2 or 3 options, or show them pictures. What would you like to do? They're going to be drawn to what they need energetically to keep them in balance, right? Most of these kids now, they're old souls. They know what they need. I mean, their little body may be young, but what's inside of them is not. And why do I say that? Well, my parents decided to get us involved in dance. I don't want to dance. I am not a dancer. I fell off the stage during the first recital. I even think I don't think I made it past 2 recitals. One of them I had my dress on inside out, but it was tragic. I wanted to play soccer. So intuitively, I knew I needed to be outside. I needed to be running. I needed to be moving my body. That all of us have an energy signature, right? We have the physical body. We have the energy body. The energy body is the aura around the body in what's called the chakras. It's our energy center. Basically, what I'm trying to say is there's certain things that we can do that will help keep us in balance, kind of help keep our aura cleansed. Well, I was this sensitive child who I'm like a sponge. I'm empathic. I absorb everything from everyone. So soccer was an outlet for me. I could run and run and run and run and run and run and be able to have an energy cleanse, basically. And I ended up on a tournament team. I was pretty damn good at what I did. Played different positions in soccer. I ended up one time being the replacement for one of the girls that was sick. She was the goalie. And it was my first day. I'm like horsing around, going to play this position of goalie. Well, I was damn good. I'm admitting that. I was very good at it. And the coach immediately noticed, like, dang, this is your position. And so, like I said, I ended up on this tournament team that we were just really good. We would even host our own tournaments, and we'd win our own tournaments. It was funny. But I started noticing that the coach, who had been working with professionals for years, he wasn't just all about kids. I mean, he knew what he was doing. He was very well known in Texas, and soccer in Texas is big. And basically, you can't be on his team unless you get recruited, is what I'm saying. But this is what I started noticing, was the push to be rough. And I remember one day, it was actually a tournament weekend, and I was playing, and I was doing well. We were winning. And I remember the coach saying, you need to just charge them. And so, in other words, don't wait for them to come to you to try and kick the ball in the goal. You go and intimidate them, like run towards them. Well, I did. And there was this little girl coming towards me fast, and I basically charged her, and I rolled her over my shoulder, and she landed on her back, kind of side and back, and it dislocated her shoulder. And I didn't get any kind of foul for that or anything, because she ran into me is how they looked at it, right? But yeah, I felt terrible. I mean, when I tell you I felt terrible, I felt like gut-wrenching to think that what I just did harmed her. And what was so messed up was everybody was on the sidelines cheering for me because I blocked the goal. I'm like, you should not be cheering when this girl's crying. Like, it didn't resonate. I got so upset. I think that was pretty much my last game. I may have played one more, but I was done with it. I'm like, I don't want to hurt people. I was such a soft-hearted, like tender-hearted kid that, for the ones of you that are empathic, you know what I mean. Like, you feel everything, and you feel people's pain, and it's painful. You don't just feel your own, you feel everybody's, and it's not an easy path. Speaking of, with the empathic stuff, there was a time that my grandmother, I'm skipping over to this, but I want to share this, that it was me and my sister and my two cousins. I actually had 3 cousins, but Kevin wasn't around that much. He was older. But it was always me and Angel, my sister, and Sherry and Jimmy, my cousins. Me, Sherry, and Jimmy are all the same age, all born 2 months apart. I'm the youngest. But we would all play around, around the property and at my grandmother's house. Well, my grandmother had a den that had been a 3-car garage that was converted into a den. So you would take 3 steps down. It was like sunken. Well, the sentence suddenly stops. That's because I had to do some editing. I haven't mastered that. I'm just trying to get these videos up. YouTube was too slow, so I had to break them up. That's all.